what's going to be? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast Rolling Stone says initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists. Line fans discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire bill. Code CPPod at darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. Let's go to our feature presentation. If you look at my board, if you're on YouTube right now, there's a name right there, and that's who we have on the podcast today. One of the best overall musicians, I would say, of our generation, of the past 20 years, one of the best voices. It's Myles Kennedy. His most recent solo record, The Art of Letting Go, is out now. He's going to be going out on tour in the U.S. begin 2025 with Tim Montana and Sons of Silver. We not only talk about his creative process and why he loves that creative process for this record, but why it continues driving to make new music, why he still has something to say. I also asked the Metalingus question because I couldn't resist. But then we just get to know why Myles Kennedy's songwriting, his vocal style, and why he still has so much left to say is one of the best things that's out there right now in rock. Oh yeah, it is. You guys ready? Because I am. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. When it comes to some of the best musicians in rock music over the past 20, 30 years, this guy and any of the bands that he's in will always show up. You've known him from many, many years playing with Alter Bridge or with Slash along with himself and the Conspirators, but he's also a solo artist with 3 albums out now, with his most recent one coming out in 2024 called The Art of Letting Go. Going on tour to start support of this album in 2025 with support from Tim Montana and Sons of Silver. One of the best vocalists of all time, of our generation. You name it, he's right here. Please welcome Mr. Myles Kennedy to the podcast. So Myles, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Oh man, thanks for having me. That's I don't know if I can measure up to any of that, but thank you for the kind words.
I'll say I'm pretty sure you're already measured up to that with everything you've probably achieved over the past, 20, 30 years. And I'm just hoping that by the time you start doing more of these interviews, like that intro still stays all the way on top.
Well, I'll try and hit, if I can hit any of that, I'd be happy just for a day. But yeah, that's very kind of you.
Oh, well, you're very welcome, and it's my pleasure to absolutely have you on this podcast. I just got to ask, because we have had The Art of Letting Go out for about 2 months before going over it. What has the reception been like for your third solo album, especially after the mass amount of positivity you saw, not only releasing Year of the Tiger in 2018, but The Ides of March back in 2021?
It's been good. I just did a tour with the guys in Europe for the last 6 weeks. So, I don't read reviews, or when I put records out, I kind of live in my bubble. I do interviews, and that's about the only way I can gauge whether people are liking something or not. But when you're playing live, you're essentially, you can just see it on people's faces if things are working, or level of applause and whatnot. People will be honest, they're not going to clap for something if they think it sucks. So, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, because a lot of the new material, you're debuting it in a live context, and people were, gosh, we leave every night, we walk off stage every night, and we're like, wow, people seem to like this. So, yeah, it's been great. This is a rock record, and maybe that's part of it. I think people know me as being a rock singer and rock guitar player, and it tends to be the records that I'm known for are riff-based, and that's what this record is, as opposed to like the first solo record, which was, more of acoustic singer-songwriter approach. Second one's a little more a blues thing with a little country here and there, but this is just a straight-on rock and roll record. So people seem to like it.
Well, when people especially always associate you with that rock and roll style, with more of a riff-based style, anything that comes along that's going to have more of that at its core is going to essentially resonate with people that definitely know who you are and definitely already within that fandom of yourself, of Alter Bridge, of anything around there. But when it comes to the other albums that you've already put out there, it's kind of nice to see with Year of the Tiger how it's more acoustic. We got to see more of the singer-songwriter and more of the vocal power that you have, which we already know you have, come forward. Ides of March having a little bit of a different flavor to it, more of that bluesy flavor to it. But then Art of Letting Go does bring kind of all of this together in a very interesting way, from what you've done with Alter Bridge, what you've done with Slash, what you've done on these previous solo records, to come together to really form this more amalgamation of the sound that you have not only been known for, but the sound that you're able to create in so many different ways. So it kind of all comes full circle with the Art of Letting Go.
Thank you. Yeah. I feel like not enough time's gone by. When I was in the thick of it, writing this last record, sometimes you just can't see the forest for the trees. But yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of kind of where things are. Yeah.
I would hope it is. I mean, I got a chance to really dive deep into it this whole entire past, I would say for the past 2 months, but I really, really got dive deep into the past 24 hours before talking with you to really get a full understanding of it. And it's really incredible to see how many different intricate pieces and ideas, different riffs, different styles, different pacings, whether it's your vocals being more melodic and the backing being a little bit more fast-paced, up-tempo, how everything interplayed together, where some songs definitely have that more straightforward hard rock riff-based feel. Some of them have a little bit more of a interconnected, bringing some of that bluesy style in there, bringing in, I had one song I wrote on there was like listening through a piece of slam poetry, but in music form. And I believe that would have been, I got to make sure I get it right, it was Behind the Veil. I was trying to follow through this whole entire thing, and I'm like, sonically, this absolutely is making sense. Vocally, it sounds like slam poetry, but everything is forming together so well where for a 5-minute song, it feels like it absolutely needs every piece of that. So seeing your overall just continued growth as a musician, even this stage of your career after so many great records from so many other projects, it just continues to astound.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I mean, my fear, especially at the age I'm at now, is that, I was just thinking about this recently. A lot of times once you cross a certain point in life, your ability to create, things just change, right? And you become, a lot of times you find guys or girls or whatever, they at this stage in life, it's more about passing on the info, like teaching or it's just a different thing. And a lot of times creatives, you lose your stride, and you lose your perspective. And I keep waiting for that to happen. But for some strange reason, I feel, especially like in the last, 6 years, still have a lot to say. It's a lot, and not so much like lyrically, but just musically. I have a lot of things I want to try. And I've been writing a lot again lately, just, as a songwriter, you're always trying to write, always have that. And I'm always afraid I'm going to pick up the guitar in the morning. It's like, oh, there's just nothing there. But it's, as long as the universe keeps dropping little nuggets here and there that I can, expand on and develop into songs, I'll keep trying. But I appreciate hearing that about Behind the Veil, because that's my favorite tune on the record. And it's fun. It's my funnest. It's the funnest one for live. It's just something about that one. It's just something about that riff, and I extend the solo, and a lot of this record was an excuse just to play guitar solos for me.
That is actually kind of a funny way to put it, because there's so many different guitar solos on this record. And the best part about it is all of them have a slightly different flair to them. All of them have a slightly different tone. They pick on different parts of blues, different part of that full rock forward approach. Maybe sometimes they go a little bit more on the 80s style. Maybe sometimes they have an updated, even Southern style of rock music into the solo. I think Dead to Rights was the one that really picked up on that style. Yeah. And it just fully came into this piece where we know not only maybe lyrically you still have a lot to say, but sonically you have so much more to actually produce, so much more to try, so much more to open up the world to, in terms of what can be done with the guitar, what can be done from a songwriting perspective, and especially in a world today where rock and metal are really coming back up into pop culture, and more of those genre blending styles are coming into the foray of popularity. We're seeing it in a completely new light as well with what you're trying to do sonically on this record. So going forward, what you're talking about, waiting potentially to see if there's that time change from going from writing to maybe more of the teaching side, maybe more of the mentoring side. there's still so much more to say, and you're at the perfect time to say it. You're absolutely at the perfect time to say it right now.
I'm trying. I'm trying to just capture it while I can, because I don't know how much longer, I don't know how much longer my hands are going to keep working. My voice is going to keep, I feel very grateful that all that still works. And yeah, I mean, and I think more than anything, it's just, there really isn't anything else in life. I mean, I have an incredible marriage. I'm very grateful. I've been given a lot in life. But I will say that as far as what really makes me want to get out of bed in the morning, and what really makes me excited to be alive, is the creative process. And I spent on this last tour that I did in Europe. I did a few shows with Devin Townsend, and we're both are kindred spirits in that way, where it's just like, it's just the creative process is the reason we do this. Performing is great, and this is great, and but it's that spark. And I think I was talking with Clint Lowry from Seven Dust about this once too. And it's just, songwriters, we have this thing, like when you get into the zone and you're like, oh, there it is. There's that thing. It's the universe just gave me this the genesis of this idea, and I'm going to form it. And then when it comes together, and the goosebumps or the tears or whatever it is, there's nothing like it. It's absolutely.
It's an incredible thing too, and that's one thing we love about seeing musicians continue to create music and continue to have the passion for it over and over as time goes on. Because when you get those goosebumps, when you're feeling that, you're coming up with some of the best ideas you might have, and the motivation to keep going with it and to absolutely thrive on life from that creative process is not only something that leads to the great music that you create and provides you with that absolute positive outlook on life, that positive connection with life, but it allows us to kind of paint more beauty into our own lives through sound, through spoken word, through singing, whatever it might be. Because we don't listen to music just to, have something on in the background and hope it goes away. When we're listening to music, we want to have something on there that's going to actually bring us some sort of connective emotion. Maybe it's positive, maybe it's something that might be more sad, but it's to connect with someone that we love that's no longer here. There's so many things that music does from a creative process that allows not only you as a songwriter, you as a musician, but you as a fan and us as fans to love so much more about life. And if you're waking up jazzed about that creative process every single day, and you're going to continue to put out the work that you have been over your whole entire career, we're just going to have more beauty to paint in the world in our own selves, with that being a soundtrack to it.
Wow, that's heavy, man. That was beautifully put. But I think that, wow, yeah, that's great.
And I kind of took that a little bit too from back when I was remembering 5 years ago when I heard Walk the Sky from you guys in Alter Bridge. And it was like that really amplified a lot more of that positivity. And listening to anything else you've done with Alter Bridge, anything you've done solo, anything you've done with Slash, it just kind of adds to it, no matter what emotion I'm trying to pick up on. There's always going to be something there with your creative process going to add to the emotion of whatever I need to go through, whatever I need to feel, and whatever other people need to. We go to shows to see you guys play live, to see you perform, to see you sing, to see you give us that moment, and for us to be able to give you that moment in turn. It's something that creates so much more beauty in life, and we're just glad that you're still continuing to do it and continue to throw that creative process fully into what you do.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll keep doing it as long as people like yourself care and are listening, because and then that's something I don't take for granted. I mean, I remember 35 years ago when I first started trying to write songs, and I didn't have people that cared. I was just writing them for myself, and to sort of hear this decades later, and it's like you've been able to be a part of something and create something that now resonates in other people's lives, and hearing the way you just articulated it so profoundly and beautifully, and you're like, wow. In some ways, it's strange for me. It almost adds, like, because I'll probably would do some work later today, writing wise, and then in a good way. But it's also like it's a bit of a, like, it adds a little pressure, because like, oh man, like people are listening. You're not just sitting there in your house in Spokane, Washington, writing these songs that no one's ever going to hear, but you're just doing it for you. So it does make you more cognizant of what you're talking about, like what the content is, and like be responsible with what you're lyrically. Like, I always appreciate it when people bring up the lyrical thing and what it's done and what it helps them in their life, work through loss, or helps them with whatever it is, and it makes me aware that, well, I'm glad I was going through that same struggle and I needed to work through it with the lyrics, because if I'd have been in a place where I was just angry and I was just telling somebody to F off, that I don't know what good that's going to do in the world. Not with that said, I do have songs where I'll get, they come from more of an intense place and I get things out, but I try to be responsible about, I try to be careful where it's not just, it doesn't bring a bunch of hate into the world. I don't want to do that.
Or not even just bring a bunch of hate in the world, but just bring forward some sort of negativity that we can't necessarily really connect with, or if we connect with it, it's going to maybe drive us further into a negative space, not only for us, but for you if you're just going to write that song and put it out there, because every time it's played, every time you think about it, every time you listen to it, you're going to end up going back to that emotion. So being more cognizant, being more aware of the lyrics that you write, how you write them, the different types of vocal inflections you put on them to amplify a certain piece for that emotion, it adds so much to it, to the, especially looking ever since you joined Alter Bridge and take a look at the past 20 years, that consistency has played so much into the fact that you've had such a long career, not even only writing songs 35 years ago, but still writing top quality songs, writing top quality music, and constantly putting out music that anytime you guys seem to release them, whether it's yourself, whether it's anything with Slash, whether it's anything with Alter Bridge, it's always at the top of people's lists of end of the year, album of the year type stuff. But that's not only from the lyrical perspective, but even on what you did with The Art of Letting Go, it's from an instrumental perspective, how your different ideas came forward to mold these emotions and give them a tangible explanation to something that we maybe not be able to describe or be able to understand. There's plenty of songs I listen to that I go back and it takes me back to a certain time because that's the only thing that reminds me of that emotion at that time. It could be good, it could be bad. If it's good, it amplifies that memory as a happy memory. If it's not a happy memory, it shows me that I've gotten past it and I'm doing so much better. There's plenty of songs from yourself, from anything you've ever done, that have caused so many people to do that and feel that. That's why anytime you go out and play a show, there's always people in the crowd. There's always people on their toes just waiting to hear your voice, waiting to hear whatever you're going to have to say, and it's going to hit them impactfully. So by the time they leave, no matter if they're having a bad day or a good day, they're going to go out with a positive outlook on life at that moment.
It's beautiful. Wow. That's really great. You're good at this.
Hey, I've been doing this for almost 6 years and I absolutely love diving into music. So I kind of got used to having to do this. Plus,
that's great.
It also helped out a lot when it came to having to deliver a best man speech at my brother's wedding at the end of beginning of December. So it helped out a lot.
That's good. I did my brother's best man speech a long time ago, and it was not good. Mine was horrible. Oh, it was really bad. I didn't really have anything that prepared, and I don't think I realized the gravity of the situation. That's one of my big regrets. So kudos to you. I'm glad it went well.
Oh, it was nuts. And I even had told my brother about this interview too, because I'm like, okay, he knows Alter Bridge. He knows Myles Kennedy. I told him about it. He's like, oh my God, are you serious? And he said, can you ask him the question that I want to ask him? I'm like, I might have to. And this is the perfect time to bring it up. My brother is a huge wrestling fan, so I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. One of his favorite wrestlers as a kid was Edge, and of course, Metalingus was the song that absolutely worked, not only for you guys, especially starting out as Alter Bridge, but at the same time was something that connected so many people to Edge, the wrestler, as well. So how did that whole connection actually come together over 20 years ago?
Well, I think there was a relationship that, like, Mark, I don't know if it was Mark or just the whole gang or whatever. There might have been a friendship there, but don't quote me on this. I really should know this better because I've been asked this question a few times and I'm just such a space cadet. But yeah, he was a fan and wanted to use the song, and I met him a little while after he started using it. I think it was at a House of Blues show I met Adam, and he was just so cool, man. He was just so like appreciative, and yeah, it was really amazing. But yeah, it's been, that whole thing has been in a lot of ways one of the most important things that help people discover the band. So we're forever grateful to him for using that song, because it really did, you know, kind of bring us to elevate us to a certain level as far as awareness goes. So that's been good.
I'll say, I know it definitely elevated you to a level of awareness, especially because my brother and I have known about the band since its beginning, since One Day Remains ended up coming out, because of that moment, because of that intro song. So getting to be able to interview you now, and hopefully interviewing Mark in about another month or so, just to add to it, I got to ask him the same question too. But it's just something where it's absolutely insane to see how these small little moments in life and these small little connections can not only bring so much positivity to so many people, but for all the songwriting you've done and to bring forward the ability that you have as a musician and the positive you can bring forward in life can come forward in such the most wacky, random way. But because of that, we've had over 20 plus years of knowing who Myles Kennedy is, knowing Myles Kennedy's voice on a world spectrum, and being able to absolutely have it be a positive, force in our life whenever we get to hear it.
I appreciate it. I'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
I'll keep on doing it. Hopefully, hopefully in 10 years, I still have the voice, and we'll have this discussion again.
Oh, if in 10 years, if we get to have this exact same discussion over another album, it's like, how are you still doing this? It's going to come to a point in time where we're going to end up hearing about, more Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stuff. And it's like, okay, Alter Bridge is up. Yep, you got to put him in there. Why? Just listen to this. And all of a sudden, it's like, you got to make sure that Myles Kennedy's voice is heard by so many other people.
Well, that would be awesome.
You know what? It might happen. It very well might happen as time goes on.
You never know. You never know.
And with the tour coming up to start 2025, like I said, with Tim Montana and Sons of Silver in support, I'm pretty sure you're excited to go out and play these songs for a lot of people in the U.S. this time to see the reaction from them and see how the home market here in the U.S. takes to this.
I am. And the beauty this time, I think the good thing for the U.S. is that we're kind of a well-oiled machine after doing touring for nearly 2 months over in Europe. So we feel really, I think, confident going into this tour. Not that we didn't in Europe, but there was a little more. It's always nerve-wracking when you do a tour and you're doing songs for the first time, and this is a really challenging for me, playing as a three-piece, a power trio. It's a really difficult hour and a half, 2 hours, just because it's so exposed. I don't have another guitar. I don't have Mark there. There's, it's not Slash and Frank, and it's very, as a three piece, it's like you got to be on your A game every single night. So I love that challenge, but it's definitely when you first start touring, and it's the muscle memory isn't it's set in stone yet with all the new parts. It's there were some occasional oops, what was that? There should be less of that now, hopefully, provided I get sleep. So we'll see.
Well, I'm hoping you get sleep, and I'm hoping that there are no oopsie moments, especially after being out in Europe for 2 months. But if everything goes right and I'm able to see the show, it will be the first night of the tour in Joliet, Illinois at the Forge. So I'm hoping there are no slip-ups there, but I know it's going to be one hell of a show regardless. That's always the main thing.
Right on. Well, it'll be, if there's slip-ups, it'll, at least the beauty of that is we're it's that human element. Sometimes that actually makes the show. People will remember that. I've been to shows where something happened and you're like, oh, that wasn't supposed to be there, but that was kind of cool because that just shows you they're just humans. So yeah, who knows? It will, but it's going to be fun. Yeah, I'm super stoked to get out and get this rolling again.
We'll say this: hope for the best, but fun, that's a guarantee. And Myles, right. I got one more question I want to ask you before we wrap this up. It's a question I love to ask every artist, and especially potentially hearing the answers from you would be incredible on this. It's a way for us to get to know more new music and get to know more of the music that you love. So I'm going to ask you for 3 of these. Can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
Oh, geez. Let's see here. I'm so bad this. Well, I have these friends, and they did some shows with us with Seven Dust last year. MJT. They're these just this is incredible band from Long Island. And I think you can find them at MJT the band is what they is where you can go in their socials. But geez, these guys are just brilliant musicians. So that's definitely a band. I think that other bands that, well, I feel like the cat's out of the bag now. I mean, especially after the Olympics, but for a long time, if you'd asked me that question, I would have definitely said Gojira, because that was a band that I, discovered 12 years ago at a festival, and they were still they were relatively unknown at that point. I remember this is incredible. I mean, people have to hear this. And so, the Olympics now it's off to the moon for those guys. Yeah. And good for them. They so deserve it. And then I think, after doing this tour with Devin Townsend recently, I think the guy's a genius. I think he's brilliant. And I feel like, that the level of talent there is so mind blowing. That's something. And another one, if I can throw in four, would be Big Wreck. My buddy Ian Thornley, the Canadian band that's just I used to tour with them back in the day with the Mayfield Four. It's a relationship that's lasted for decades, and he's one of the most another Canadian like Devin. So Canadians know how to rock.
Well, I'm glad I asked for 3 and you broke the rules with 4, but that's what the podcast is all about. We're going to break rules and we're going to do whatever the heck we feel like. And 4 great answers, we'll take it.
All right. Sweet.
All right. And I want to thank you for taking the time, Myles. As we wrap this up, I'm going to close this with 3 things. First things first, The Art of Letting Go is available for you to all go and check out now. Go script for the podcast. All the links, labels for Find Myles online, where you can support him on social media, where you can find tickets to the upcoming tour in the U.S. throughout winter 2025. Go check out the album, stream it. Just support Myles and everything. Everything's going to be down there for you. I'm looking over everything. I'm doing all the research. All you got to do is click the links and go. Now it's time for number 2. Myles, this has been an incredible conversation. And every time this happens, I tend to make a promise, a way to say thank you. I appreciate it, and I wish to continue to support you in the future. It's not an if, it's when I get to see you perform live. I'm going to have to say again, because I've seen you perform live before. When I see you perform live again, I got to find a way to find you, come and say hi. But the real promise is, whatever you need, first round's on me.
Right on. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. And now as we close out this episode, I cannot say goodbye. This was incredible. This was honestly a little bit of a dream come true for 10-year-old me, and especially for my brother, who's going to watch this like a hawk once it releases. But I got to make good on my promise. Beyond that, though, dude, I would love to have you back on the podcast again in the future. So I cannot say goodbye. That's too final. This is
all right.
I'll see you later.
Till next time.
Well, folks, my interview with Myles Kennedy, and now it's time for Kevin's final thought. I can't believe that actually happened, honestly. I need to give a huge thank you to Mr. Kevin Chiaramonte from PFA, who helped set this up, and this was fantastic. I am absolutely over the moon about this, and here is why. It's being able to talk to Myles about just the fact that this guy has been an impactful musician for so many years, and has created music that always brings forward some sort of positive emotion to you whenever you need it. Whether it's with his solo stuff, whether it's with Slash, or whether it's with Alter Bridge, this guy's voice transcends. His songwriting transcends. The art, I should say, of letting go. I almost said the fear of letting go. The Art of Letting Go is a record that absolutely shows what he is capable of in so many different facets, and knowing that he has so much more he still has to say and wants to say and is inspired by that creative process is a beautiful thing. We're going to continue to get great things from him in the future. And when you think about the overall idea, when he's talking about, actually understanding how impactful his music actually can be, how far reaching it has gotten to be, along with knowing that people listen to this, get connected to us. And he's always thinking about that when writing his lyrics. He's going to get his message across, but he wants to make sure he gets it across as eloquently and as strong as possible, with, not much question about the positivity behind it or the message he's trying to put on there, or without trying to evoke anything that's going to cause negativity or just rash anger. Dude, I absolutely love it. Like, this is truly something, and I couldn't be happier about this episode, guys. This was an incredible way to start out 2025. Be sure to go see Myles as he plays live with this whole entire solo record in 2025 here in the U.S. with support from Tim Montana and Sons of Silver. Go script the podcast below to go. Make sure you get your tickets for that. Be sure to go follow along on social media. Be sure to also stream The Art of Letting Go and anything else Myles is a part of in the description of the podcast below. Please also subscribe to us. We are right down here on YouTube. Hit the follow button, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hit the like button as well to help push these up in the algorithm. You want to follow us online too? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, links to podcast below. Yes, I still say Twitter. I need to thank Myles for this one because this was absolutely incredible, and maybe soon enough, Mr. Mark Tremonti will come on. That'd be awesome. But, dude, this was so cool. I need to thank Myles again. Thank you, Myles. Thank you. And that's going to be for neighborhood. Thank you very much for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin. And you guys know everything was up. So big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah.